Black History Month actually started out by Carter G. Woodson. And Carter G. Woodson is considered the father of African American history, or the father of Black history. There was a historical association, the American Historical Association, that did not allow African Americans to participate, nor did their journal, the Journal of American History, allow for articles to be published about African Americans. So Carter G. Woodson, he went to Brea College in Kentucky. He got an undergraduate degree there. He had to do another undergraduate degree to finish that at the University of Chicago. He got his master's at the University of Chicago, and he becomes the second African American to earn a doctorate from Harvard University. So history, and it's going to be in history, history is going to be his passion. So in 1915, he's going to found an organization, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. And so the goal was to preserve African American history, to tell folks about African American history, to help folks learn about it, and really show the contributions of African Americans to the United States. In 1916, the organization is going to form a journal, the Journal of Negro History, so a scholarly publication about the African American experience. And then in 1926, he's going to start Negro History Week. And so a week-long celebration during the second month of February. And why the second month of February was selected, it's the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln, as well as Frederick Douglass. And so initially it was Negro History Week. However, as time went on, you had some communities actually making it a month-long celebration. And in 1976, bicentennial, during the presidency of Gerald Ford, it was renamed Black History Month. So the month of February, instead of just a week celebration, a month-long celebration, so that Americans could celebrate the contributions of African Americans to this country. Because ideally, African American history should be included in any American history course that you take. That's not always the case. There's lots of good books. I guess the classic African American history textbook, From Slavery to Freedom by John Hope Franklin, you can gain access to that. And really, what I tell folks, in any aspect of American history, folks of African descent are going to be there. And what you have to do is you have to actually, because the internet, it's not even necessarily hard to do. You just have to have a desire to want to expand your curriculum and to make it more inclusive. And I always encourage folks to start in the local community. So you can hear what's going on nationally, but there's African American history in your town, in your community. Speaking with somebody, just having a conversation, just having a dialogue and learning about their experiences. So starting on the local level, that could be as easy as talking to a neighbor or asking a neighbor, can I talk to your grandmother? And you'll find out all kinds of fascinating things or people's experiences just by having a conversation. But you can also see all kinds of programs on PBS, and you can also see documentaries on YouTube. So there's all kinds of ways, but I always say start local because it makes it more relevant to the person. Oftentimes in churches during celebrations, community organizations like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Urban League, various fraternities and sororities having functions throughout the community, and just commemorating what the contributions of Black folks. So a lot of civic groups doing things, from programs to pageants to essay contests, to guest speakers, so any number of different things to help expand folks' knowledge of African American history and the contributions of Black folks to this country. So on Monday, February 14th, which is the date of Frederick Douglass's birthday, there was a transcribe-a-thon, and it was in conjunction with the Library of Congress, and they had a video on how to do the transcriptions and then to help transcribe Frederick Douglass's papers. On Tuesday, there was the African American read-in. And at the African American read-in, they actually read and actually analyzed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final speech. And then it concluded today with the interview of Professor Smiley, who teaches SLS here on the campus, who is a veteran civil rights activist. Most communities have a historically Black community. There's still churches there. Maybe there's some housing there, maybe there's not. Maybe some businesses still in existence, maybe not. But I would say work with the local community because of segregation, usually communities of size had a black business district. So you can find out where that was. If it means asking older people in the community, because if you ask older people, they're a wealth of knowledge. And they're actually dying for somebody to ask them, but somebody has to ask them. So ask them, Grandma, what was it like when you were growing up? And you can start by documenting somebody's family history, documenting where a business community district was, going to a black church, because historically very important in the black community, helping to document that history. And when you see projects that are going on that they say they want to tear down this community for the purpose of building an interstate, which is unfortunately way too common, go to the zoning meetings and speak up. Go to the zoning meetings and speak up. And if the area has already been demolished, a lot of communities, they have a lot of small community museums. They could always use somebody to help, volunteer, time and or money. Start at that level. I'm biased, but my classes here at HCC, I thoroughly enjoy them. You have to ask the students, they might say otherwise. But really the importance of history, the relevance of history, because by studying the past, you can learn a lot. Take the pandemic now. Everyone's like, oh, well, we had the Spanish flu in 1918. Like, who would ever thought? Because people forgot about the Spanish flu in 1918. Everybody now knows about COVID of 2020. But seeing how you handle the past and what worked and what didn't work so well, because issues are always going to continue to arise, see how you can learn from the past to make the future ideally better. Don't make the same mistakes that people made in the past. Learn from their mistakes so that we move forward continuously into a better, stronger nation.